don't need to clap yet, I haven't done anything. So thanks all for coming. Thumbs up to audio, all good? Excellent. All right, so my name's Peter Kearney. I run the technical team of solution architects in Australia. The business group I'm in talks directly to large end user customers. So we're out there talking about the value of the Intel products, the Intel platforms, the Intel software tools and things that we'll talk a bit about today, and then helping the customers and helping you implement those solutions and make best use of what the investments you've made. So build a day, technical. I'll start a little bit high level, but then we'll start to get into the guts of, all right, well, what have we got? What are we delivering? What are we building? And why is it different? Just a bit about industry relevance. So AI everywhere is sort of the theme of the topic. But really, AI is not about AI for AI's sake. A lot of people are talking about AI as the underlying technology and getting very sort of involved in the AI, the models and the workflows and all of that. But it's really about what is the business outcome? What are customers doing with this stuff? How will AI impact all of these business solutions that are delivering value to the enterprises? And obviously, you can see just a huge list of things that AI could be important for, all the way through health and life sciences, financial services, public sector, everywhere you can see value and benefits for AI technology. And it's not just about the technology, it's also about where is it deployed and where does it need to be to deliver the outcome most cost effectively for you. So a little video. So that was just one of our customer testimonials we've worked on with AWS. So Cometly is a company that does very high performance, low latency, real-time recommendation engines. And because it's all about performance, it's all about speed and latency, we worked really closely with Cometly and with AWS. And you can see there a company called Single Store DB, which is a real-time high-performance database. We worked together, all of those parties, to really optimize that workload on AWS infrastructure and deliver the outcome that Cometly needed. You won't go to any AI presentation lately without seeing the words Hugging Face. A lot of words on this slide. You will get this slide later and all of the slides. But Intel is working closely with Hugging Face and the entire AI community to really optimize the AI models, deliver open source models, deliver easy access to all of these AI tools, technologies and features, but to bring them all high performance and really optimized for the outcome that you're looking for, which is really cost and sustainability, which we'll talk about in a moment. So we work really closely with Hugging Face to take all the open source models, to take all their own Hugging Face models and models that we contribute as Intel, and really optimize them for the hardware that Intel delivers, primarily the 4th generation Xeon platforms, which we'll talk about, as well as our Habani Gaudi AI products portfolio. So just on the right-hand side, you can see these numbers of speed-ups and these performances that we're delivering are big numbers. So that's 8 times performance improvements on training for Distilbert, which is a natural language processing model. So that's on the training side, but also in serving it and inferencing it. Really optimizing the performance and the latency and therefore the cost of inferencing on natural language applications. And then also the current favorite topic of most people is around stable diffusion. If you want to see stable diffusion in action, please come to our booth. You can have a picture taken of yourself. This is not me, by the way. A picture taken of yourself and you get turned into a cartoon character and you can take away a little postcard of yourself. So advertising for the booth. But really optimizing that stable diffusion so you don't need these giant instances. You don't need these really expensive hardware platforms or instance types in order to make use of these features. So AI is evolving rapidly. My grey hair definitely indicates that I've been around a little while, and I really haven't seen in my whole career the pace of change and the pace of what's going on in the industry around what's happening with AI and how it is impacting every area of my customers' businesses. But the underlying technologies are still kind of the same. We've still got graph databases and data lakes and data fabrics, but also there's a lot of work going on at the moment about using synthetic data to help train models, help optimize models. So get sort of a bit of a feedback loop. There's a bit of an argument going on in the industry whether synthetic data is good or bad. I'll let you do some of the reading on that. But pretty much every organization is looking at AI. Every organization's trying to understand what it means for their business, how they can use it securely, sustainably, and deliver business outcomes. And it's really, as I mentioned earlier, it's changing pretty much all industries across the board. So just think about how it can impact your business. But it's not all great. One of the major issues, and we even heard about this in the keynote this morning, for those that attended, probably most of you were there, sustainability is a big problem. To train these enormous foundational models, just looking at the one that I did a little bit of focus on while I was preparing for this was the one in the middle, the power consumption. So if you look at that model, the dark blue one on the outside, 1,287 megawatt hours of electricity to train the model. I did my Sydney electricity, how much would that cost me to do it? It was over $400,000 in electricity alone. That's excluding the hardware, procurement costs, the software costs, all of the other things that go around that. That's just in the hardware, just in the training electricity cost. And over on the right-hand side, you look at that, the training of the model is really only 40% of it. Most of what you are doing is delivering the outcome. It's the inferencing. And so 60% of the workload is going to be inferencing, because you're not training the model just for the sake of a training model. You're training it to deploy a model outcome, which is the inferencing side of it. So you take that $400,000 as the 40%, then you look at the 60%, those numbers start to be really big. And so what can we as infrastructure providers, AWS, Intel, do to help with that and deliver sustainability outcomes? Intel's really good. All of these things have references on the bottom of the slides, so if you want to look up the source of the information, it's all in there. So what are we doing? We're doing a lot of work around model optimization. So on that left-hand side, in order to better process these models, we're doing a lot of work around quantization. So typically a model is operating in 32-bit floating point. If you look at quantizing that model, either down to bfloat 16, or even depending on the workload, an int8 model, quantized model, can deliver the accuracy and the outcomes that you care about. So quantization really helps reduce the memory footprint, really helps improve the performance of processing the models during inferencing. Pruning is about saying, okay, you've got all of these neural networks, how many of the nodes actually contribute to the outcome of the model in the use case that I'm using? Potentially not a lot. So if we can just zero out those nodes that don't need to be there, we can significantly reduce the memory and compute footprint. And then distillation is around taking these enormous large language models or enormous models that are trained on giant corpuses of information and saying, well, I don't need all of that information, all of that training data from that particular type of data. I only really care about this kind of data and these outcomes. So really distilling that to say, right, what parts of that giant model do I actually care about and I actually need in my workload? So we've got a product that came out of our Habana AI group called the Neural Compressor that does a lot of that work, so go and have a look at that. But then also doing a lot around software optimization. So One API is our umbrella brand for all of our software tools. So this is tools for doing deep neural network APIs, math kernel libraries, performance primitives, all of these really heavily optimized libraries that sit underneath the frameworks. OpenVino is our inferencing library for doing, well, you'll see it on the booth, but doing visual AI, natural language processing, all of the inferencing technology we put inside the OpenVino umbrella. Analytics and AI toolkits, and then another interesting one is carbon-aware software. So we do a lot of work inside things like Kubernetes to say, all right, I have this particular workload. It has this particular characteristics. How can I then schedule that workload onto appropriate infrastructure that is optimized for running that workload? So we've got a lot of things that we push back into the Kubernetes software layers. So things like telemetry-aware scheduling, node feature detection, which we'll see a bit as well. So looking at that and saying, where's the best place to run this workload in a sustainable way? And we're also looking at this across the entire portfolio of Intel products. The was talking about AI everywhere, so we're putting all of these features and all of these technologies even into our edge CPUs. So you'll see a lot of advertising and marketing coming through the pipe around the AI PC. So we're putting things like neural network or neural processing units, NPUs, directly into the CPUs that go in your desktops and laptops. So you can run optimized models directly on your PC. Where's the best, most sustainable, most appropriate place to be running the AI? And potentially that could be right at the edge. So we're building that into all of our products. This slide's pretty busy. So the point of it is looking at the left-hand side. We're seeing a lot around these huge foundational models. These are currently hundreds of billions of parameters, and there's even work going with some of our customers like the Argonne National Labs who are talking about the 1 trillion parameter model. These models are huge. They're not for everyone. They don't need to be for everyone, but they can be the foundation for better, more optimized models. And so we then see smaller models coming in, the sort of the hundreds of billions, the tens of billions, 20s of billions parameters, looking at sort of 100,000 tokens going as inputs. So these are still big models that require specific acceleration technologies. But then we're starting to see, and we even heard it in the keynote, was things about enterprise large language models. Large language models that are specifically around things that you care about in your businesses. And so these models then become a lot smaller and a lot more achievable and a lot more easy adoption. And then over on the right-hand side, we're seeing lots of segment-specific models come out. Models that have been tuned to and optimized for specific categories. Now, this one talks about law and medical notes and story writing. The other thing that's going on is we're seeing lots of, and it was very briefly mentioned, lots of things around agents. And agents are really about models that are optimized for specific tasks. So you can have an agent that's really good at summarizing notes, an agent that's really good at scheduling calendar invites, another agent that's really good at collecting outcomes and delivering business notes and things like that. And so you start to build these solutions around a collection of agents. So you could do something like saying, please take all the latest sales data, summarize the outcomes, deliver that as an email as a document or a dashboard to all of the different people that are in the business that are likely to care about it. Let's then schedule a meeting to talk about it and discuss it. So those three different agents can all collaborate together to deliver the outcome rather than just having one giant foundational model. So we are seeing a lot of that because it's a lot easier to implement and a lot more sustainable, and the performance is a lot easier to achieve. So edge to cloud we talked about. Up the top, cloud and enterprise, all the way from the data center down to the bottom to the client and the workstations that we talked about, and lots of things around edge. You'll see a lot of stuff even around AWS IoT, lots of things around edge inferencing, in manufacturing, smart cities. You don't need all that data to be going back all the way into the cloud and being stored. Really it's about inferencing it, understanding the data that is being collected at the edge, and then delivering the information that the models that inference then send back to the business applications on the edge. And security on the bottom left is really important. So we're doing lots of work around confidential computing. We've got a product we've just released called the Intel Trust Authority, which is around trust attestation of cloud services. So happy to talk about that. So really looking at this as a holistic endeavor. So AI can be used everywhere, but also there's a lot of work that you still do. There's lots of talk around the AI layer, the training and the inferencing, but there's still lots of grunt work that you got to do. Extract, transform, load, ETL, data cleansing, data prep, all that stuff still needs to be done, and Intel products are really the workhorses for doing that kind of work as well. So, wouldn't be an Intel presentation if I didn't show chips and talk about the chips. So, 4th generation Xeon is the keywords there on the slide. This is an AI specific version of this slide. When we designed this product, we designed it with customer workloads in mind. We said, right, what are the workloads, current and emerging, that the customers that are adopting our technologies care about? Obviously, AI was one of them. And so we put some specific features inside every single CPU core on a 4th generation Xeon, formerly known as Sapphire Rapids, called advanced matrix extensions. So these take 512-bit vectors and matrices, and the underlying mathematics of a lot of AI is matrix multiplication. And so we put features directly into the CPU cores to accelerate matrix arithmetic and to really optimize it so that the amount of power as well as the performance being consumed by that workload is optimized. So just looking at this slide, 10x gen on gen performance, so 3rd generation Xeon to 4th generation. For AI workloads, we are measuring like 10 times performance improvements using these AMX features. But don't freak out, you don't need to know all the machine code underneath it. We then do the work in the software layers above that to expose that to you, which we'll talk about in a sec. So huge numbers that can be seen. Like, I even had to look at that bottom left one, which said 62 times performance improvement. So that was a company called Numenta. It does natural language processing applications. And so we worked very closely with them to take their unoptimized software on 3rd gen, look at it on 4th gen, and optimize it using all our tools and our frameworks and libraries. And we're seeing huge performance improvements. And so down there on the bottom, we've got the references to all of these numbers as well. But as I mentioned, we took the workload first approach. AI is one workload, really important, but your business is not all AI. There's still a lot of enterprise apps. And so we've optimized the platform and the processor for a whole bunch of different applications. So that left-hand side one, we've got the technology called Quick Assist, which is about compression and encryption. So compression, decompression, encryption, decryption. So by using this Quick Assist technology in the platform, you can see like 50% performance improvement in HTTPS and SSL web serving. And then we do the optimization inside OpenSSL. And so then when you're sitting on Nginx or using Nginx as a web server, you just automatically get access to that improvement. Over on the right-hand side, we've done a lot of work in databases and analytics. We've got an analytics accelerator, which is about compressing memory to improve memory bandwidth and memory utilization. We've got things in there for doing string processing. So obviously a lot of analytics is comparing this string with that string. So we've got lots of technology in there in the CPU and in the instructions for doing string processing and string comparisons. So lots of acceleration in the platform. So how do you use it? What does it mean for you as an AWS customer? This slide used to have all the way back through 2nd gen and 1st gen. So we decided to make it easy for you. So 3rd gen instances are the 6i instances when you look at your EC2 instance types. So really it's just about going, right, now there's the 7i instances. So by adopting these 7i instances, when you look at the instance types that you're deploying for your AI workloads or your enterprise workloads, just looking at those 7i instances as you're selecting instance types. So 7i is the key thing to look for. So really, AI is the theme of the conference, the theme of really what most people are talking about. So we've seen AI every workload, looking at it for programming, looking at it for scheduling, anything you can think about, really, there's now an AI aspect to that as well. And then building it and deploying it everywhere. Common tools, common libraries, common frameworks, optimized for the platform from the edge to the cloud. And then we also work with the solution partners, so all the ISVs, all the systems integrators, to be able to say, right, let's optimize their products and their services on the Intel instances, the Intel platforms, so as you consume them, they're optimized. Last slide, other than some QR codes. So this is really looking at our software libraries, the software toolkits. We mentioned obviously across the bottom, the hardware layer that everyone knows Intel for. Then the software libraries. We do all the grunt work, the heavy lift around optimizing the libraries, optimizing the tools, and then delivering those frameworks, the TensorFlows, the PyTorches, the cafes, the Onyxes, all of those other layers that you as developers are familiar with integrating with. So just looking at the Intel extensions that we push up into OpenStream, thinking about how those enhancements that we put in are manifested for you as a user down onto the hardware using these libraries and things. Over on the right, we've got AI tools, developer cloud. So we've got a whole bunch of containers, pre-built containers, that have all the optimized libraries, optimized tool sets that you can then take as containers, use EKS or Fargate and just deploy Kubernetes, deploy these containers and make use of them. So you don't have to go, right, how do I install this app? How do I install this library? You can consume it in a container-oriented format. Converge.io is a full workbench and workflow tool to be able to help you be more productive. Getty is about training, supervised learning. So if you're training models to do defect detection or object recognition, we have some tools there as well. So last slide, top left-hand one is about AWS on Intel.com. So this is our website about the work we do with AWS. The top right-hand one is AWS's website about what they do with Intel. And then we've got some customer testimonials, and really the bottom right-hand one is the one for looking at, right, what are the AI tools, what are the AI technologies that we bring to you and how you can get access to them. Notice and disclaimers, everything I just said was rubbish. No, that's not true. There is a 7-day free trial of Skill Builder. So have a look at that. Plenty of information over in the back corner about that. And with that, thank you very much. Thanks for attending. Thanks for coming to the Intel session. And don't forget your postcard over there at the Intel booth.
Thanks very much, Peter. It's great to see a partner leaning into the whole sustainability and giving us some options there.
do provide feedback. Up on the screen here, we're going to throw up the feedback slide. It's in the app, so just go into the app, provide the feedback, much appreciated. In 10 minutes time in this room, we have our very own AWS Matt Coles doing a whiteboarding session on how to get started with AI app development. So join us in 10 minutes time. See you then. Cheers.